sustainability, it's all about the dynamic of change. However, low-road strategy states bring in added value to this change of paradigm mainly by decreasing the non-value added costs. This is one of the very clear features of the developing states. We are all judged by having a lot of non-value added costs. So on the long run, both categories head together towards a holistic systemic approach of sustainable growth. This new beyond GDP goals approach is best illustrated by the policy in the energy sector in Europe, a sector which is interdependent with industrialization and economic growth, and whose current and future sustainability fosters development of many interrelated industrial sectors. The objectives of the 2030 energy policy and European energy strategy closely follow the systemic growth model. In terms of energy policy, for example, Europe has come to understand the importance of the technological level playing field versus one size fits all. The importance of simultaneously addressing major energy security objectives rather than cascading them. And of really allowing competitiveness and best state choice indigenous investments to correct previous market failures, because all European member states are really facing serious market failures. So this allows states to optimally use their resources for a balanced energy mix to increase their long-term sustainability. And this creates value added throughout the whole chain, which means that an integrated approach delivers integrated outcomes. The eco-economy, because we are in a country which really is going for the eco-energy, Germany is really one of the promoters of the renewable energy. So the eco-economy that Europe has embarked on involves major changes of paradigm. Therefore, the greatest challenge emerges from the issue how to presently foster long-term sustainability without temporarily reducing economic growth and create social burdens for the consumers, because competitivity is again one of the major challenges of the European industry. The side effects of the 2020 policy were largely put on resistance to change. However, states' readiness to deal with this change paradigm were not there. Previous uncorrected market failures allowed new ones to build on. Thus, for several states, a gap between supporting renewable energy and emphasizing the importance of affordable prices and security of supply has emerged. Some perceive this gap as returning to the old way, especially after the collapse of the CO2 emission trading scheme. However, what we need to understand is that there should be no gap between the two variables. They are part of a whole that bears results for both the economy and the industry on one hand, and the final consumers on the other hand. So in the light of the new 2030 framework for climate and energy, published by the European Commission in January 2014, the commitment of all member states by which is necessary to achieve the reduction by 40% of the domestic greenhouse gas as compared to the 1990 baseline, it's a new challenge. The positive sign of the transitions towards a sustainable energy policy in Europe derives from the fact that the new 2030 framework relies both on renewable support schemes and base load energy production capacities as the nuclear energy it is. Currently, nuclear power covers 1/3 of Europe's energy production. The EU industries need support to increase resource effectiveness. That is, optimally use of the right resource to reach both domestic and European targets, and to rely less on energy imports. And from this perspective, for European countries the situation we are facing in Ukraine and the dependence on the Russian fossil fuels, I think it is a very important topic to be considered, also when we are setting our long-term policies. So having sets of measures that apply to the same resources is highly unlikely to make a major positive difference, as the new structured economic policy seeks to obtain. In this regard, I consider that the approval of the European Commission for the financial support mechanism for the new build in England, and I'm referring to the Hinkley Point C, is a positive signal and a milestone on the path of a new political and economical view of large-scale investment projects. Europe is on the way of ensuring profitable conditions for investments with long-term amortization. So attaining beyond GDP goals requires industrial symbiosis, meaning allowing member states during the transition period to find synergies and create a relevant target resources homogeneity in their way to operate. Otherwise, states will try to overcompensate policy shortcomings by placing emphasis on the old safe ways. Which brings us to the importance of eliminating uncertainty and market failures associated to policies. That is, eliminate contradictory signals to the industries and markets that hamper solid investments. Unfortunately, this has been the main effect of the carbon market and the result of high uncertainty and reluctance regarding investments in both renewable industry and other resources that can deliver the same thought after results. Ensuring the level playing field in the industry has turned out to be of great importance if we want to be able to effectively apply a systematic change. As competitiveness and sustainability are the drivers of the change, then Europe's need to do a bit of thinking in terms of reforming subsidies to support resource efficiency. The so far pictures clearly tell us that subsidies have a two-edged effect. They, in the same time, create a group of advantage entities while clearly disadvantaging others. Subsidies are indeed a great tool to support the introduction of innovative products. However, elements such as sale and demand should dictate the future and placement on the market. Because as long as one's taxes come to finance the subsidies of the competition, the reluctance to investment is an understatement. So therefore, while subsidies may work in granting a startup boost where really necessary, their long-term use bears effect on the competitiveness and level playing field. Subsidies are intended to correct market failures, not to create market failures. So I really believe that investments are the engine of growth. Investments need really functional, competitive, mature, transparent markets to flourish. Thus, policy elaboration should have clear answers to what are the drivers that motivate actors to invest, what measures should be implemented in order to facilitate the drivers, what are the market failures or the policy barriers that impede market sector industry development, and what are the correcting mechanisms. Encouraging investments, for sure, is very much part of a high road approach, and it implies to all states. The European market failures that many member states have advocated against can only be corrected by increasing investments. Relying heavily on state aid and supportive domestic regulations as economic instruments can only lead to temporary economic growth for only a part of the industry, while long-term macroeconomic effects, the one we are looking for, will be either reduced or non-existent. I have also heard voices saying that the industrial policies are contradictory to climate policies. Well, they seem to be if we continue to operate on traditional approaches. the same old systems, the same old networks and institutions. We cannot integrate the new into the old. So we have to start building adequate systems. So to conclude, right now it's Europe. Europe is halfway between old and new, and there is a need to carefully foster transition if we are to become fully and functional within a new industrial approach. And I think we all have to remember, all us the Europeans, that Europe is not alone. And we really have to coordinate European policies to the larger globalized network. Thank you very much.